Welcome to The Hidden World of Women, a podcast brought to you by Women's Health and Wellbeing Services. My name is Emma and I'll be your host for today's episode. This morning I'm joined by another amazing woman. She describes herself as weird and wonderful, which is my absolute favourite description that I've had so far. This lady is a forensic scientist. She's a world-winning science communicator. She's involved in teaching. She's a senior lecturer at Murdoch University here in Western Australia, and I believe she's also involved with Murdoch in Singapore as well. She's a leader in the science community. She's involved in real-life cases and investigating human and animal crimes. She's an immigrant from Italy, and today I'm joined by Paola Magni. So I'm super excited to be talking to you today, Paola.
Thank you for having me, Emma. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for joining me. So I guess tell me a little bit about your story. How do you go from, what's your background in Italy and how did you end up being one of, a leading forensic scientist in Western Australia?
Well, the story is actually a journey and probably more like a roller coaster journey. So I was born and raised in Italy in a family that was not educated that much because nobody of my family went to the university. I'm the first one of my family going to get a university degree.
So why would you stop at just going to university? Hey, you could have just gone to university, but no. Let's aim for the top and actually become a senior lecturer there as well.
Yeah, I mean, for me it was just, I need to go to the university because I want to know more about what I like, and what I liked and what I still like, I actually love, deeply in love, is everything about nature, the nature around me. So I was the only child in this little family, with my mom being a teacher for special needs kids, and my dad was a director of a hotel. So no one of them was actually into science, and no one of my high degree, different degree relatives are into science. I don't know what happened in, something in the genetics happened at some point. Some they said DNA changes as mistakes. Probably there was a mistake at some point and become a science mistake. Anyway, so I always loved nature, to the point that, the sister of my mom, my auntie, used to bring me lots of dolls, and I was not interested in the dolls. At some point, there was a doll that was talking and singing, and my biggest thing about this doll was, I want to open and find out how does it work. No playing.
I don't care what it does. Show me how it does it.
Yeah, I don't care what she says, and these songs are really annoying. I just want to see how the real disc opens and moves inside. So first, I can say maybe my first autopsy happened when I was 6. So other things, I had this little kitchenette that was all plastic fantastic kitchenette that my dad gave to me with all of these pots, and during winter, we always had chestnuts to eat, the hot chestnuts. And my biggest thing was, let's open the chestnut and find the little caterpillar inside. So my little pots were full of little caterpillars. And I was very fascinated about how they move, how they squeeze themselves inside of the little pot, and how they change colors, how they change shape when they move from the caterpillar to the little moth, and all of these things. Always interested in nature. And my biggest dream was to have an aquarium at home, or a cat, or something that I could actually handle and look and observe, and having a little booklet to write what they were doing. At some point, I got a little hamster. Then I got a second hamsters. My parents, no idea that these two were male and females.
Oh dear!
A few weeks after, voila, 8 little ones. And for me, it was a wow moment. Like, one of the hamsters was brown, one was white. So the 8 little ones, 6 were brown and 2 were white. And this is like Mendel 101, genetics 101. So I had this little booklet, and I started to, put all these charts and colors, and I started to inbreed them. Oh my God, I probably created like a hamster with 6 legs at some point.
Little monster.
Yeah, I was like, probably I was like a little CEO of my own little business with the animal shop, because I was making so many hamsters that I had a kind of an agreement with the pet shop near home, and I was bringing babies that I didn't need because the colors were not okay with my child,
Yeah.
and they were giving back food. So yeah, little entrepreneur in career.
Oh,
It was
wow.
all about science for me, like, and yeah, probably if my parents were a little bit more educated in science, they will tell me inbreeding is not a good
maybe
thing.
It's not great. Yeah.
So
We might need to
yes,
get a
at
few.
some point, yeah. So when luckily I didn't have a hamster with two heads at any point, so that was okay. Anyway, so no surprises that when I had to study high school, I pushed my mom to take me to a private high school in which there was a huge science program that was not normal for Italy. In Italy, we have certain high schools divided for type. We have the classic one in which you study Latin and Greek, and then you have the scientific one that is not much different from that. You have more hours of Latin rather than science, but this one had a special program. You had like 10 hours more than a normal school to do science, and you had labs and this and that. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go to school day one with the lab coat, and I'm gonna stay with the lab coat all day. So a little nerd, like completely in love with what I was doing. Finishing the high school, no surprises again that I decided to enroll in the course of natural sciences. People were thinking about biology for me, but I discovered that biology is all about science of life, and nature is not just about life.
Yeah.
We live in an environment in which there are many things that are not alive. We walk on soil that is not alive. There are components that are alive, but stones and rocks and volcanoes and chemical components are not alive, but they make life possible. So this kind of opportunity to see nature as a full picture, in which also the man is there, because imagine a biologist that looks a pot plant will look into the trunk and the leaves. The geologist will look into the vase and the soil, but a person that studies natural sciences can see and understand the vase, the soil, the trunk, the leaves, the air around, and the people that look at the pot plant.
Yeah.
So all of this is like, wow, I want to be there. I want to understand all of this complex food chain and understanding everything. So that was my starting. And in specific, well, part of nature that I used to love was everything that was water and underwater. So my sport was scuba diving. I became an instructor of scuba diving when I was 18. I was the youngest scuba diver instructor in Italy.
Oh my goodness.
So my career, so I'm gonna do. So back in the days, the university career was a huge chunk of like 5 years in which you had to study a bunch of units, and then you had to do 1 year or 2 years of research. So I thought, I'm gonna work on manta rays, on sharks, on whales, something huge and wet. I'm gonna travel to Maldives. I'm gonna spend a year in Maldives, and then I come back with a good thesis. But I hit the reality, and the reality was that I was living in a city that was 250 kilometers far away from the sea, and the only marine biologist teacher was going to provide students with theses on hermit crabs and how they reproduce hermit crabs. They crush my dreams. I really want to work on manta rays, and you're giving me the sperm of an hermit crab to look after. It's not gonna happen, mate. It's not gonna happen.
Well, not for a whole year. Maybe you could look at a hermit crab for a week, but not for a year.
Exactly. So I kind of took a moment to rethink about things, and I waited kind of a sliding door. I had an opportunity to travel to Kazakhstan, in the middle of nowhere, for a research. I got a scholarship to join a multidisciplinary, multicultural group of European people, Russian people, Kazakh people, to look after the new animals and fauna and flora that are present in the new area of the Aral Sea. I don't know if you guys know about that, but the Aral Sea was one of the biggest lakes in the world. It's a salty lake. And Kazakhstan is northern than Uzbekistan. In Uzbekistan, there were cotton fields. And in order to have biggest cotton field in South America, they started to use the water from the lake to irrigate, to water the cotton field. And this lake was getting smaller and smaller. So areas that one day were covered by water are now basically desert because it's also a salty kind of field. Cities like Aralsk, there was a city on the Aral Sea in which the majority of the people were fishermen, is now 80 kilometers away from the water. We have this skeleton of huge boat in the desert that are like ghosts in the desert. So our job was to understand how the nature changes in a new environment that suddenly happened to be there. And I was in charge with frogs and toads and and the genetics of these new toads and frogs. And again, came back home and they said, this is not me. I actually don't care about how many chromosomes a toads have. And they're cute. And I had a suitcase full of frogs and toads, and I kissed every single one to see if I get a prince, and no one happened. So yeah, look, one, not for me. Not the prince didn't happen, so I can't do frogs. So okay. I waited for another sliding doors, and the sliding doors happened a moment in which I enrolled in the course of entomology, that is the study of insects, and there was an elective that is very strange because insects are everywhere, are the most present animals on the planet. Everywhere you can find insects, from your cupboard in the house to the city, to the bush, even to desert, and even underwater. And is an elective for natural sciences? Doesn't make any sense. Anyway, let's do it. And one of the first classes, the professor said, insects are everywhere, but there are not that many people that study insects. And only a bunch of insects have been studied, mostly the beautiful one. So butterflies, some beetles that look amazing, that look like jewels.
Yeah.
Insects that are dangerous, like vectors of diseases, mosquitoes and wasps and ticks and things like that. And also the insects that are very useful. So a bunch of pollinators, or the insects that are used to fight other insects. And then he added something. There was just a sentence that was saying, well, actually in the last 20 years, some scientists are studying insects to be used for criminal investigation. And there was again our aha moment, like, okay, this is eureka moment. So I can actually use insects that are a piece of nature, a pretty big piece of nature, for an application that can be extremely useful for something even bigger and better than me, something that can be used to bring justice to the society. So I can give credibility to justice, and I can close cases, and I can help victims. I can give closure to families. And I started to search a little bit more about that. There was nothing back in the days. There was not even Google to look for. So I had to go to the Central Library. I'm giving away my age. It's a bit annoying, sorry, but let's say that.
I think that was very recent. I'm sure it was only 5 years ago that we were sitting in libraries having to go through things.
I brought my expertise 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I found out that there is actually a discipline of science that is called the forensic entomology. So entomology is the study of bugs, insects, and forensic is about the law. So insect and the law. That is not just about murders, it's also biosecurity issues, hygiene, transport of products. So you go to a restaurant, you get a very nice meal, and you find a cockroach. Now, more proteins in your meal, but not exactly what you want. So this is not a criminal case, it's not a civil case that can open up an issue because of different situations. So that forensic entomology, so a discipline that study insects, criminal or not criminal investigation, so investigation about different things, I can make the difference. So that was like, I can make the difference using the key left by nature, using insects in this case, for the good of society. So I went to the professor and said, I really want to look into this. And he said, look, I don't do it, but if you can find somebody that can help you out with that, I'm happy to support you and to be your supervisor for this research. Give me a challenge and I'm all for it. So I ended up calling the health department and see who was in charge with the medical legal department. I went to meeting this person. This person basically opened, it's going to sound a bit weird, and it's weird and wonderful, open up the door of the mortuary for me. Oh, yeah. I was working with the university, and basically in Italy at that time, nobody was doing this job. So, and maggots on dead bodies are not exactly the thing that you look for. You try to get rid of them. So pathologists were so happy to have me around because I was taking care of everything that was not pleasant for them. Then there was a few conferences in Europe because there was a little group of people interested in that. Like the first conference in which I went was like 50 people at the Natural History Museum of London. Very small group of people, very interested in this topic. So tiny. But Italy is a country with lots of people. Like we have in Australia, a total of less of the people of the north of Italy. We live like sardines, and there are several crimes because the society is what it is. And in many cases, the body are found days, months, even years later. So that is exactly when insects come and can give lots of information if you can read what they leave in the cases. So I started to work a lot. So I made myself a name in Italy because I was the only expert doing this. And I started to travel Italy with my little bag full of samples and working on different cases. And
I'm just imagining getting a random stop at an airport and opening the bag and it just being full of maggots and flies and all of that, having to try and explain that.
What I had to do in most of the cases was I had to fly to the place where I had to do the investigation or the necroscopy or the autopsy. So, and then I was coming back by train to avoid any issues. So sometimes the case itself was taking forever and was very tiring in terms of what to do, because then there was the issue of me being an expert that doesn't exist. So Italy is very rule book from when it comes to work. And many years ago, there was not this opportunity of becoming an entrepreneur, of doing certain things. Probably if there was social media a little bit more developed, I could be the Chiara Ferragni of science at that stage, but that was not the case. And so I found myself having to work as a science teacher during the day and being a forensic entomologist during the night, travel where I could and getting the samples back. But I couldn't get a proper job because I was not a pathologist. I was not a law enforcement person. I was not a chemist when I was working in toxicology of the insects. So I could not find myself a job. In the health department, I had a couple of contracts, but there was not enough funds for it. And then the university gave me the opportunity for a PhD, but was not with a scholarship. So I had to work at the same time. And part of the PhD journey was you had to spend some time in a foreign country to learn a little bit more. And I could not wait for this because I was the only one doing it. That means that doing a research in that, I'm still singing my own song. Nobody's teaching me anything. I'm not growing. I'm still in my comfort zone, not in a learning zone.
And the thing is, you don't know what you don't know. So you need somebody to stretch you and to be able to take you that step
I need
further.
A peer. I need somebody to supervise me that can be critical on my things. If not, it's too easy. There is not the challenge.
Well, you need someone to brainstorm. If nothing else, you need someone to brainstorm with and someone to go, have you thought about it from this perspective? And have that. So you can't do that if you're only in your own head.
Yeah, and so the only people I could work with were pathologists, but pathologists don't have my background, as I don't have their background. So the team group cannot go anywhere because it's difficult. Anyway, in one of these conferences in the European Association for Forensic Entomology, I met the former director of the Center for Forensic Science at UWA. There was a center that was present here in Perth until a few years ago. And I explained in my situation, I need to go somewhere. I need to learn. Have you got space for me? And he was so kind and so open to this little girl that was very annoying, like a fly, pretty much. And he said, well, you can come over for a few months and we can discuss about your PhD, your research and this and that. So long story short, I leave the science teaching job and I take my suitcase and I come to Perth. and was a big shock
Yeah.
back in the days, because I'm talking about 2009. And coming from a big city in Italy to a very large city in Australia, in which shops are closed at 4 p.m. every day.
And closed
the
on
weekend,
a Sunday. And
closed on the Sunday. There are no public transport. It's
Yeah.
so hot. I stayed from January to June. It was so hot. It was one of the hottest summer in years. I was shocked. So I spent amazing 6 months, but I wasn't ready to stay. I wasn't ready to stay. Plus, I'm the only child in my family, and I didn't feel comfortable in staying, because at the end of the 6 months, they said, look, just finish this PhD. We have space for you at the center, and you can have a postdoc. We like the way you work, know stuff that we don't know. So, but I was not ready. So you really had to be ready for a jump like that. So I came back to Italy. I finished my PhD. I worked on some more cases. And I think it was a very good thing, because in that couple of years, so from 2010 to 2013, I had a bunch of cases that were related to aquatic environments. So I had cases of people found on the beach or on a lake or in wells. They kind of reopen up my knowledge and my love for marine biology and aquatic stuff. So I started to move from forensic entomology, pure forensic entomology, flies that fly around, to also cases of nature, like aquatic nature, that can be useful in the court of law. So I had cases in which I had larvae of mosquitoes that are aquatic stuff, or I had barnacles, or I had other crustaceans that can be useful in investigation. So I started to open up a new venue for my my career and my expertise. That was aquatic forensics. So then in 2013, there was another call for a postdoc again. And at that stage, I was mentally ready. I was probably over Italy, not understanding my expertise and the potentials and the opportunity that I could give to cases.
Because that must have been exceptionally hard to feel as though you were, I guess, constrained, because the job that you were doing, and yet you're still being told that it doesn't exist.
Yes, on one hand, there was that. I was on media for different things, like the TV shows in which they were talking about cases, and TV shows in which we were talking about animals. And I was working for law enforcement. I was working for the court. I was teaching lawyers. I was teaching law enforcement. I was teaching science students. But I still had my... basically the reciprocal of an ABN, in which you provide an invoice, and then the providers that should pay you can pay anytime. Even the court of law can pay you in 3 or 4 years time. So you have a deadline of 90 days to provide a report and to do the job. And maybe the job involves a flight to go somewhere, a ticket of the train, and then some analysis that you need a lab to pay for. So you pay everything up front. And then in 3 years' time, maybe you're going to get paid.
See, it's a shame,
and maybe
they're going
to
tell you every day.
It's crazy. Like, you don't know at the end of the month if you're going to be able to pay for your house loan. So, and this is the reason why I was also teaching science in the public system, because I could not afford to survive that way. It was very, very frustrating. So again, I was nearly going to a breakdown, and I realized that this is not going to work. So I really like my sliding doors moment. I really look at myself in the mirror. I speak like like, the actors that try their own speech to the mirror and say, okay, let's do this. If this happens, you're going to continue this direction. If it doesn't happen, you go the other direction, but the first direction, you're going to slam the door because it's not suitable. It's not worth, So my sliding door was, I'm going to apply for this postdoc in Australia, in this place that I really liked when I was there. And if it works, I'm going to move and I'm going to start a new life. If it's not going to work, I'm going to become the best science teacher, maybe the minister of education. I don't care. I'm going to get bigger and better in that sense. But this chapter of my life is going to be done and dusted.
Oh, wow.
And so...
That was a big risk, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I got the postdoc, and I told only my mom that I was leaving. My dad found out on the day I was leaving.
Oh,
My auntie and my grandmother, they are the people that basically raised me as well as my mom. They didn't know because they were away for a holiday, and they just found a letter explaining, because the hardest bit for an Italian person is to leave the family. The families are
yeah.
pretty
Very close knit.
very close, and there is a sort of a stereotype or general situation in which the parents, and so the family looks after you until you are independent, but then at that point you are going to look after them because
Yeah.
they have an age, and it's now they are now your responsibility.
Yeah.
So this was really something that was very making me anxious, like I'm a bad person because I'm leaving. But then my mom really understood me. My mom, when she was 16, she moved from the south of Italy to the north, living in a little village to provide. She was trained as a teacher.
Yeah.
And was just after the war. My grandfather was injured in the war, so he could not work anymore. He was a carpenter. They had siblings and things, so she was able to provide for the family, but only living. So she found a job as a teacher in an orphanage in the north of Italy. She left when she was 16. She was working in this orphanage, and so she's the one who understood you. Sometimes you have to do it for yourself.
Yeah.
And then maybe that is gonna be better for you and for the rest of the family. And then she said something that's still very close to my heart. They say, I'm giving you roots to stay, roots to come back, but also wings to fly. So
That's
at that point, I really understood that she understood, and she was not upset me leaving. She was more upset me staying because she knew I was not okay there.
Yeah.
And so she's the best.
Yeah.
It's my mom. And I was in peace in that sense. I was now ready, left, and things kind of came into place.
Before we come to what happened over here, how did your dad react when he found out on the day?
Well, it's a difficult question, this one, because I didn't have a very good relationship with my dad in the last few years, because he was has been always a very grumpy person, but in the last few years became very, very grumpy. And then we found out that he was actually suffering of Parkinsons. So part of the Parkinson's disease is some neurological connection not working anymore, and you become grumpy. So we pushed him to go and look after himself, do some neurological assessment and things. But you can take the horse to water, but you can't force him. So I said that you kind of don't care about me, so you should not care if I'm here or I'm there.
Yeah.
He was sad, but because of this issue of the Parkinson, he could not express his feelings.
Yeah.
So I'm still in. It now doesn't even speak anymore. It doesn't move anymore. So it's the last 3 years of COVID, not having been able to go back and say at least hello.
Yeah.
Have been very hard. So, but when I left, I was not in a very good space with him, because I said, you're not caring about me. And then we understood that was a reaction to was part of the issue that he was facing, that he didn't know was facing. We didn't know he was facing. We only had the symptoms, so it's like, but so I was more worried about my mom, my non, and my auntie.
And they just got a letter. So how did they go? No, did they?
Well, let's say that I was happy to be gone when they came back and they found out, because I know that I'm pretty sure that they gave a big head to my mom. You allow her to go. This is not okay. She should be here. She should be normal. Like, she's a girl, she should get married, and she should get this and that. So,
and that's difficult as well, that concept of she should be normal. And, in our family, we celebrate weird, and because we're all weird. And so the idea of being normal, I guess that feels weird to me. But Yeah, that's a difficult kind of concept, that when you have this family, I guess this family pressure to be weird, to have somebody in your life that says, well, actually, no, you need to just follow who you are.
Yeah, but my grandma and my mom come from this small village in which everyone whispers, and if you are the weird one, they don't whisper nice. And I always remember that during summer, I used to go to the south of Italy in this big house of my nonna, and to keep me happy for the month in which my mom was not there, they used to give me an animal to look after. It was like pet therapy 101. And one year they gave me a chicken. And
I think they were very brave, Paola. I would be worried about giving you an animal in case you tried to do an autopsy. So.
I know. But listen to this. I had a tricycle with a little basket, and I was going around this big house and this backyard with the chicken all dressed up, sitting in the basket. And all the houses of the neighborhood could look into this backyard. Yeah. So all of these old ladies were knocking to the door of my nonna saying, I can see your granddaughter with a chicken on the bicycle. So is she okay? Is she normal?
She's in her element, and no, she's not normal.
Yeah. I remember one brought a doll because maybe she doesn't have a doll, so she has to put the bib on the chicken because this stupid family doesn't give her a proper doll to dress up.
Oh, they thought that you were deprived.
Yes, doll deprived, and so I had to dress up the chicken. But that was okay for me.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. So then I'm assuming that your grandmother and auntie, they started talking to you afterwards? They didn't hold a grudge for too long?
Yeah, absolutely. So they understood. Yeah. And I nearly pushed myself to do something good here in Australia in order for them to have a peace of mind that this was the place in which people, job and things embrace my talents. Yeah. So, for example, I won this science communication competition, and I had all these trophies, and I've been on the newspaper a couple of times and things. So they had all of these things on their walls, and so that was like she didn't make it in Italy, but maybe Italy didn't understand her, was not ready for her. Yeah. But this place is embracing her. She's happy. And then I had to say, between you and I, and everyone is listening, after a year that I was in Australia, I met this guy. Then I married them. Yeah. So they found out that I not just break into work, but I found someone, and we were serious about it, and we got married in 6 months. Oh, so, wow. so that was like the closing of the circle. So she's happy, she's working, and she's married. She's married. So it's okay that she's away, as far as she's happy and there is someone looking after her. Yeah. And I had to say, my husband is lovely, but I think I look after him more than he looks after me. But it's okay. Yeah. Details.
I definitely feel you on that one. But how was it coming over to Australia and actually... So I've got two questions. One is that how was it for you coming over here and being here? I suppose you'd made some contacts when you came over to study the first time, but you were still essentially leaving everything behind and coming over to start afresh. How was that?
It was exciting to think that I'm going to live and start a new life, but that was pretty daunting because, oh my God,
how is going to be this
new life? Yeah. And, I was living by myself back in the days, but like 3 doors far from my mom. Yeah. All the water bills and electricity bills were coming in Italian, difficult language, but still in Italian. Here I had to sign contracts as my first signature, and I had to look after everything by myself. And I was so scared of the signing contract for electricity bills and things in which I will maybe not understand what and I didn't have friends at the beginning. No. And I found Australians to be I knew this stereotype about Australians. Now, so everyone is either crocodile Dundee or surfers.
Yeah.
So this is what we know about Australia. There are dingoes and crazy animals, surfers, and crocodile Dundee. That's it.
I'd say that sums up Australia.
I had a good
well,
appetizer in 2009 that is not like that. So, but still not much there. I found myself not having nothing to do during the weekend. And when I moved here was in 2013 was September. So it was pretty bad weather. And I didn't know what to do during the weekend. So I found myself a job in an Italian daily. And so I was making panini all weekend. Yeah. Paid very cheap, but I met friends. And we could chit chat about Italy. We could chat in Italian. We could we become a little young community itself. People that are not angry with Italy, but happy to be here. So embracing the reality, happy to discover a little bit more. So we were going to the museums and doing this and doing that. So it was a very good opportunity for us to do things.
Because
anyway,
I actually don't know how to make friends as an adult. You know, like when you're 6, you can go up to somebody at the sandpit and go, "Do you want to be my friend?"
Yes.
It's weird if somebody comes up to you when you're 36 and says, "Do you want to be my friend?"
And I guess this is the reason why I found my husband on Tinder.
Yeah. I said to my husband the other day, well, we can never get divorced because I'm not tech savvy and I have absolutely no idea how to manage any dating app. So we're just going to have to stay together.
Sometimes we laugh with my husband saying, well, I was there. I will never go to a bar by myself. My two good friends, one was married and one was in a long-term relationship. So they will never take me to a bar. And if I see you in a bar, typical Australian, you're probably drunk. So I will never have any. I would never been keen to speak with somebody like you that clearly has a problem. so I think technology from that point of view helped a lot. Yes. And because even in the university setup, many international students, they come and go. So it's a very kind of harbor place.
Very transient.
And a transit. So it's difficult to get friends. And many people that go to the university are not exactly extrovert. They tend to stay in the office even for lunch. And that was a UWA, this amazing place. Let's go to have a sandwich under these trees. Oh no, there are UV lights, you can't stay outside. It's like for God's sake. So it's no, it doesn't work like that. So I was it's an adjustment, a big adjustment. And then there are funny things like in Italy, we don't have the comma in the numbers of bills. And so it's all about point or nothing. So the water bill arrived and was like, I don't know, $25. And I paid $2,500. Oh my God. Because I'm so you see, taking responsibility of your bills and also, so it was funny because I was talking about talking about that with my friends. And I was like, as soon as that happened, I was like going off on my Facebook saying Colombians or whoever stolen my money from my credit card. And that was me putting the wrong number in the water bill. And as soon as I called the water corporation, they just said, yes, I'll give you the money back. It's not an issue. It happened so many times. And this will never happen to Italy. Like they will take forever and probably keep your money because just you've been an idiot. Yeah. And
well, I thought maybe they'd go, okay, well, now you're, $2,475 in advance. So you're good for the next few years.
You'll look after that forever. Yeah. And same for the Medicare card. Like the day I arrived, the person that came to pick me up, that was my professor at the university, said we had to go to Medicare because you have a reciprocal opportunity, Italy, Australia. So you are covered for 6 months. My flight was late. I took more than 24 hours to arrive. I was absolutely a wreck. Yeah. And the idea to go to a public health office.
I don't want to do that when I'm at my absolute best. There is no way I'd want to do that after getting off a 24-hour flight, feeling grimy, tired, and disgusting.
But thinking about that, when I had to do that in Italy, it's hours of waiting, hours. And probably at the end of the day, say, sorry, guys, we don't have any more time. You guys go home and
tomorrow.
come back to that.
Yeah.
Instead, I arrived in the Medicare office. I tick the button, I need a Medicare. They say, number five immediately.
Oh, wow.
And what do you want? I want the Medicare receipt. Okay, where is your document? Where is your ticket of the flight? This is your Medicare. So it was like 3 minutes total.
Yeah.
I was like shocked. I was like, when are we going to wait? Where is the waiting time in all of this exercise? Because I can't believe it. But then you see, like in Italy, we have so many people that obviously are going to wait.
Yeah.
Here, things are way smoother. When they say traffic jam, you're not even talking. It is not traffic jam.
No idea.
Just, this is iPod time. This is like like I can listen to some talks. I can listen to a podcast. So this is actually good. So very different. Embrace the new reality. Don't embrace the fact that the shops are closed on Sundays or very short time. Some of the things are very expensive, like having a pizza is too expensive.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's still hard because I have friends now, but you're always concerned they're going to leave, or these are friends that there is something about Australia. They say, let's go for a coffee. And this coffee never happened.
Yes.
It's very annoying because in Italy, normally you go for a coffee. You really find the time. You really want to have coffees. Maybe coffees are better. I don't know. So I found good friends, but sometimes you have friends of the gym. You have friends of the work. You have friends of something else. But you don't see these friends
outside of those places.
So for people that come from a different country, can be very difficult to create a support group, a network. They can look after you in different ways. So I guess things went better when I had a mom's group, because we had something in common that was a pretty big deal. So with the excuse of having
quite drastic, isn't it? Just to have a child so you can make some friends.
Yes. So big shout out to my mom's group, and it's good.
Yeah, there are some amazing mums. If you get a good mums group, I know that one of the mums group I went to was just really judgmental, and I had to have an emergency Caesar with my first baby, and one person tried making me feel guilty because I'd let them do this to me, and what that had done to my child, and I shouldn't have done that, and our bodies are designed to have babies and all of this kind of stuff. And you think, you know what? It's not what I need. I don't need people who are going to fill me with guilt. I need people who are going to lift me up. So
I see you, because I had issue with milk at the beginning, and so they had to top up with formula, and you're a bad mom because you don't give the real milk. It's not it's not me, like it's the body. I can't control that. And so sometimes you have to distance yourself from toxic people and environments, and less is more, definitely, when it comes to these kind of people. And sometimes people don't waste any occasion to shut up.
This is true. So you came over to Western Australia, so 2013, and then you did your postdoc?
Yeah, so I spent a couple of years at UWA working on my postdoc, and then I moved to the industry. Sorry?
What was that in?
Yes, still working with the Center for Forensic Science in different things. But my original project went pear-shaped because of the closing of the Center for Forensic Science, as many things that happened in UWA around that period. So I moved then to the industry for a year, and then there was this opportunity at Murdoch, and I applied for a job over there, and I'm at Murdoch since 2016. And I moved from lecturer to senior lecturer, and hopefully closing the gap to this gender limitation in academics and professorial level that are female. So slowly getting to that level, I hope. And and then taking over the world, I guess, like Pinky and the Brain. one
maggot at a time, taking over the world.
Yes.
But so you are working as a lecturer, but you're also you have 2 babies, and and you're also still working in the field. So you're actually recognised here for everything that you have and everything that you offer.
Yeah, so I'm a mom of 2 little girls. One is 4-year-old and one is 9 months old.
Oh my
and
goodness.
yeah, it's a little one. And I don't have any of my family around. I have my husband that has a beautiful family that adopted me. So thank you very much for looking after me. And but they're all working, so it's not like you have a stay-home grandma that can look after the kids and things. So the adjustment has been pretty hectic in the last few months when I finished my maternity leave. I work at Murdoch. I work for pro bono associations and pro bono places when there are cases in which I can look into, like RSPCA kind of cases, so animal victims. And I also try to be an inspirational speaker for women associations to raise awareness about women violence and in general any kind of gender biased violence or small community issues. So I work in forensic science in investigation. And at the same time, I try to raise awareness to don't have to do my job.
Yeah. Oh, wow. And now I remember speaking about that. You were doing something about red shoes.
Yeah. So the red shoes in the last few years are considered the symbol of women violence. So we are doing some events in which people bring their own red shoes or they color their own red shoes as a symbol of violence that happened to themselves or other people, and to share or not to share, but being there for other people to be in a safe place to share and to raise awareness about gender-based violence.
So you have a diverse amount of work that you do. Is a fair amount of that the actual field work that you do around gender violence, or it just so happens that that's come up and so that's something that you're passionate about?
Humans are all the same. So male or females, transgender, all the same. So for when I do research in the field in terms of the composition, things doesn't actually change. I just do the experiment in order to provide data for future cases. When I worked on real cases, if I had to look at the statistics of the cases that I was involved with, probably the 80% are against women or against gender minorities. And I'm talking about transgenders and people like that. So there is a gap not a gap. There is a difference in who gets that violence action against. And I found myself to have several cases in which the women are exactly like me, same age, same job, just happen to be in their own relationships. So again, we're talking about toxic relationships and not being able to break through this relationship and not being able to have a network support system, not being able to speak up, not being able to be understood, and maybe themselves not be able to have the strength to do something to break the circle. So in my talks, I try to share my experience in order for other people to do better, to raise the level of sisterhood between women and between gender minorities, try to understand a little bit better each other, and try to not always put a band-aid, but prevent things, because prevention and understanding is everything in this field.
How do you think that we raise that sisterhood?
Well, maybe it's just starting
going
with
for the coffee.
Just don't waste your breath saying let's go for a coffee. make this coffee happen.
Yeah.
Like
Actually
start
put the
with a
kettle on.
coffee and we go
Yeah.
from that, because you never know what things can come out from a coffee.
Yeah.
And these days you don't even have to go to a coffee place. You make your own coffee, organize for a Zoom call or a WhatsApp call, stay at your place. You had this 5 minutes for a coffee. Another person has 5 minutes for a coffee. It can be a 5 minutes of how are you doing, and stuff like that. You can be in front of your phone with your coffee. You don't have to take the car. Fuel is crazy pricey these days. You can be in your place with your cup, in your slippers, and no makeup, hair like me today. It's fine. Let's have a coffee. Just drop me a message when you take a break from your work, and we don't have to see each other. We can see each other through the phone, and everyone is gonna be more comfortable, safe place, and we start with that.
Oh, that's really, I hadn't actually thought about doing that. I use a Zoom call at the start of work days so that we can touch base with staff when people are working remotely. But I guess I was still thinking, if I'm going to catch up with a friend, I need to get in the car and we need to go, whether it's to her house or she comes to my house or we go somewhere else. But you're right, we don't actually have to leave the house anymore. Although saying, if anybody does come to my house or I meet you somewhere, you're welcome to come in your slippers with your hair looking like mine does today. Feel free not to iron your shirt, that type of thing. There's no pressure.
And one thing that Murdoch is doing in a few weeks is happen quarterly, so 4 times a year. They have something that is called the Menopause Cafe. And I found this amazing. And this can be physical or online, depending on the situation of the COVID requirements. And is normally more focused for people that are in premenopause or in menopause, because we're talking about women about 45 to 65. That, the range can be even bigger. You never know with biology. And people that are academics at that level are not that many. And the body of us changes so much. We face so many hormonal phases. And I recently found out about this, and I'm definitely not in menopause. I had a baby 6 months ago. But I'm going to be in the next 5-6 years time. I don't want to put a Band-Aid. I want to learn. I want to listen from people that are in premenopause, that are in menopause. What is going to happen? What are the issues that I will face in 6 years time? Because I'm going to face these issues if now I'm not going to do something to make things happen. So same, like I'm not part of the queer community. I see myself as a woman and everything, but if I don't understand their community, I cannot cater for them. I cannot cater for my students that are part of the community. I cannot improve them because I don't understand them. So I recently been in a 2 hours chit chat with the team of LGBT supporters for Murdoch University, and I found it fantastic because you don't know what to do if you don't know what's going on. So having more knowledge, it's the only way to improve things.
And what I love about that is that people are actually talking about it. So, I think the way that we combat a lot of these things is we actually have to have conversations. But for so long, it's been taboo, and you can't talk about menopause because that's secret women's business, and we just don't talk about it with anybody. Well, then it comes as a heck of a shock to people, doesn't it? So
it is. There are so many things about the physiology of the women's body that are kind of a taboo that is stupid. This is us. This is us. It's part of us, and the beauty of us is probably that we have so many phases of life in which we change, and we can support each other, but only if we understand each other. And I want for my next cohort, I try to listen to this conversation, because I want for my next cohort of students that had to create a research, they had to work on a research to be focused in these specific things, in more crimes against not just the gender, but the age. Because we always talk about gender diversity, but within the same gender, what happened in terms of age. So So it is important to break down the information and to have input for their community, because we are very ignorant about their community and we don't know what kind of issue they face. And us as people that research, well, we can cater the research on something that they can suggest us.
And that's exactly it. Rather than, I guess what I love about that is actually ask the people who you're working for what they think are the important issues, as opposed to coming in as an expert and going, well, I've decided that what's important to you is this. You think, well, you've got no information to be able to base that on. So, of course, you have to ask them. But we
always have a superficial understanding.
Yeah.
I don't want to go into the story of the war between Russia and Ukraine because it's a crazy situation, but we can, it's wrong, this is wrong, that. Well, hold on. How much do you actually know about what happened?
Absolutely
Same
nothing.
Story here. Yeah. Like, I think that we need to look into this type of investigation, but what's inside of the community? What is something that is very close to their heart that they would like for things to change?
Yeah.
So asking them first.
Yeah.
And be part of that, not being like, not feeling better than them, but being like, we are like you. We just want to, work with you.
It's interesting. So I've worked on both sides of research projects as a researcher, but also as a consumer rep for different research projects. And I had to give a couple of lectures at ECU around the importance of consumer reps in research process. And it was so, and it's full of incredibly intelligent people. So I felt totally out of my depth. But so standing there and talking about that, and these people going, well, how do we get somebody to be a consumer rep? I said, well, have you tried asking them? And it was just like revelation. Oh, would that work?
You know what? I can give you a very quick example. Forensic science for Murdoch University is one of the most popular discipline. Many students come and they want to do that. And you probably saw around the city on the buses, there are so many advertisements about forensic science. And we have these beautiful pictures that media office talk with the field work, and they dressed up in blue. They are dressed up in blue and they dig the hole. Okay. So last year I had a beautiful student who was in a wheelchair and she was studying forensic biology and toxicology. So when we talk about minorities, we're not talking about only gender minorities. We have minorities of students that have disabilities that can be physical or mental or both that are actually very interested in forensic science. Are we catering for them? Absolutely not. Is marketing catering for them? No.
That's it.
But so one of my projects that is going to take place at the end of June, because it's a winter unit, is a unit that I developed specific for everyone, and especially for people with disabilities. This is highly recommended. So everyone can participate. It's very inclusive, but people with disabilities, I recommend it to participate, because this unit is going to be in remote forensics. So everything that you can do in a remote space. So from cyber forensic to drive a drone, that you don't have to fly or be underwater. You are just at the computer doing that. That you can do in any situation. And the situation can be one, the person that is the forensic expert has some sort of disability, temporary or total, for the total time. The trainer can be with disability. Last year, when I was doing one of my units, I was heavily pregnant. I couldn't, and there was an abroad unit done in Malaysia, in which I could not travel to Malaysia. So I did my teaching from home. So now that I had the opportunity to have a long chat with this student and another one that is in the spectrum, I understand what are the issues, but also what are the potentials of all of them. And I developed this unit. So
that's really
it's
exciting.
very important to understand from them what is the issue, and say, I'm feeling very bad. I can't see myself in this. I can't see myself being one of these blue suit people. I can't wear the blue suit because I can't stand up. I can't dig. But you can be the one that has an iPad with the program of a georadar, and the person that is a technician that has no education. You can take a person from the street and say, this is a georadar, looks like a vacuum. You just have to walk down the soil, and I will see what's underneath from my computer. I'm the expert. You are just a walker.
Yeah.
You know, instead of walking the dog, you walk the georadar. That's it. Okay, but I'm the expert. I'm the forensic expert, and I'm on a wheelchair.
Yeah,
and I'm fantastic, and I'm great.
There's research that shows that women actually need to see other women doing it to think that they can do it. You know,
absolutely.
So we need to see examples we need to see us out there so that we have that belief that it's something that this is a space that we can occupy.
Yeah.
Which is
it's all about role modeling, and it's all about imaging, like see her, be her.
I absolutely love that. But it's also what makes what you've done really inspiring, because you weren't there in Italy. You know, well, you were, because you were the only one doing it, but you didn't have anybody else to be able to go, oh, well, I see that other teenage girl that's gone on and, you know, now she's in her 20s and she's doing this. You know, you didn't have that person that you could look to.
Yeah.
And so, but you did it anyway.
So this is, I guess, when they say, you know, the brain is divided in two bits. One bit is about creativity, and the other one is about logic and all this. And so the scientist is all about logic and all about things. No, man, it's all about creativity.
Yes.
The science is all about creativity. It's innovation, is using the logic to understand what innovation can work.
Yes.
But this part is the part that should drive, because it should drive the thinking out of the box, being the entrepreneur, the pioneer. Well, we had someone that traveled on a wood boat and found America. Hello.
Yeah, that's it.
It's the braveness, courageous, and a little bit of weird and wonderful thinking.
Yeah. And I know we've got to wrap up, so I'm just going to fire some questions at you. My one question, this one, do you feel any guilt to have left Italy, not for the family and all of that kind of stuff, but for what you were doing over there for science in Italy, that now, like, you were the only person doing it and you left a void?
This is a big question.
It is a big question. I probably should have started that earlier.
Yeah. I at the beginning I felt like, but at the end I think the feeling appreciated allows you to continue putting more wood on your fire. And I was not appreciated, and so not being appreciated means that whatever I do is actually not good enough for you. I left many doors open. I have several collaborations still going on with the University of Turin, so my city, and also in Sicily. I have a very good friend and colleague with who I publish a book, and I publish also recently the only available guideline for criminal investigation in possible COVID cases. Like if imagine an isolation situation which somebody is with COVID, and the investigators come in the room and they don't have to get COVID, they just have to get the evidence. So we published that recently. And in theory, yesterday I received yesterday I received a call from a prosecutor that wants me to sit in court in Rome for a case I investigated too. And so the doors are open. You know, it's like they were not ready for me. Maybe one day they will be ready, and instead of become the Minister of Education, I will become the Minister of something else, justice or health or something. Sometimes you just have to make a tough call. It's a tough love. Probably it's a tough love for Italy in this case.
And I guess that, you know, you do have those doors open, so you're still there saying to people that actually this is important work. And that's leaving that door open for other people to walk through, for other people to kind of take up the mantle and be able to do what you were doing. Yeah.
So there are a few colleagues that were kind of in the same situation of me a few years later. They work as forensic entomologists for a few years, and then they moved to America. A girl from Sicily moved to America, and now she's teaching in America. Another friend that was from Padua and moved to the north of UK and was a professor over there for many years, had a bunch of students from Italy going there, and now had an opportunity for a university in Italy to come back, bringing the students back. So they are now kind of reshaping, so kind of understood. I don't have that drive to go back to Italy forever, because I have a little lovely family here.
You have a life here,
as you can see as well. But yeah, I think that slowly they kind of understood the situation.
And if you were to meet a teen girl who was excited about science, or didn't fit the normal, what would you say to her?
To kind of understand embrace the talent. So what makes you feel special? What makes you feel happy? How we can work on these talents? How we can, put the energies, channel the energy in the way that can make things bigger and better and no more difficult. Because in my case, I was trying to put my energy in a box, and then the box finally exploded. So when I come to the time to my students to do their research, I normally don't give them a list. These are the research available. I normally want to have a conversation with them, and I ask them, what are the things that you can already do? Can we go 2.0 on these things? Because if you can already do these things, means that you really like to do these things. Yeah. Can we make this work in the forensic space, in the teaching space, in the science communication space, in whatever space? Yeah. So I have a student, for example, that is into technology and working on virtual reality, and we're doing amazing things, and that's going to be connected with the disability project. So things like that.
I heard something recently that said we need to stop asking people what they're passionate about and start asking people, how do you spend your time? Because if it's something, if this is what you're doing already, this is what this is obviously what excites you because you're spending your time doing it, find a way to take that to the next level. Yeah. So, yeah.
And this is all about if you do what you're passionate about, you're not doing any day or job or work. So that is exactly that.
Yeah. And if you were to talk to somebody who was in the same situation as you, where you were considering leaving everything you knew and coming to another country, no support systems, no friends, starting from scratch, what would you say to them?
Stay in the comfort zone doesn't allow you to learn. Only in the uncomfort zone, so in the danger zone, there is this opportunity of learning, and this is where the magic happens. So if you don't give you the opportunity to jump, you don't know what you're going to find on the other side. Yeah. And there is always time to come back. You know already what are you leaving. You don't know about the new thing. Can be a better thing. If it's not, well, it's okay. You tried. You're braver than anyone else.
Yeah, and that's it. There's no shame going back, is there?
Yeah, so when I go back, you do so well. Yeah, I should go as well. Who stops you? Yeah. Who stops you?
You know that you can just book an airfare, right? That's all it takes.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts before we hang up today?
Oh, my brain keeps going, so we will say another hour here. I guess in all of these, keeping yourself humble and keep wanting to learn, keep wanting to make things better for everyone, treating everyone with kindness and respect, I think is the key for everything, because you can reach amazing position, you can do the best research, and you can be, the key of solving whatever. But then if you are not a human anymore, if you're not empathic with the people around you, you didn't achieve anything, because nobody will remember you for who you really are.
Yeah. There's one other thing that I've picked up as a message that you haven't said, but I guess it's that actually you deserve to be paid for the work that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. And
so many women really, just feel guilty to charge for what they do, and yet why?
It's very hard, and especially coming from certain countries in which you kind of have to give a free gig to show, like a free sample to see how you work, or that talking about money is very rude. Yeah. But financial literacy for young women is extremely important, because you never know what are going to happen in life. If your bank account is together with your partner and things, and then you guys split, or the financial is looked after by another person in your family, and you have no idea how money works,
and you end up like me and the freaking
water. Yeah, exactly. So things that we really had to improve in schools, maybe less violin, a little bit more financial literacy for young girls, understand the value of money, understand the movement of money, the importance of taking charge of things. So
as the mum of two girls who both play violin, I'm 100% with you on that. Oh, dear. Well, thank you so much for your time this morning. I really appreciate it. I know you've got to get to another meeting, but I could honestly sit here and chat to you for another hour. So thank you for sharing so openly and so freely.
Well, there is always time for a coffee, Emma.
This is true. And now I know I can just
drop a message.
That's it. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me for today's episode of A Hidden World of Women, a podcast brought to you by Women's Health and Wellbeing Services. For more information on the services we offer, head to whws.org.au or Women's Health and Wellbeing Services on YouTube and social media. Looking forward to the next episode where we uncover the hidden world of women.